Hey, I'm Brian, president and co-founder at Labelbox. Today we are going to explore some of the challenges that computer vision teams are facing and how a training data platform can help. Then I'm going to share a real world example and talk about how our customers at Labelbox are driving key value into their products and services with machine learning. We have all read the projections that AI is going to transform business. And like me, it's likely that you've started to see that potential firsthand in your work and amongst your teams. But the reality is that this is coming to fruition much more slowly than most of us thought it would. What we're seeing here is that getting machine learning systems into production is actually a huge challenge. It's a challenge that we haven't encountered before as a society, and it's one that we're still equipping ourselves to overcome. As a result, teams are hitting major roadblocks along the way. A very recent study from Algorithmia shows that almost everybody is facing delays while trying to get to production, and unfortunately, a shocking number of projects in the current state are stalling out and failing entirely. The development of production machine learning depends on our ability to create the foundational training data and then continue to develop that training data over the life cycle of the system. And the creation and management of this training data is complex, it's multi-step, and it requires iteration, timely collaboration, quality assurance, among many other key things. As a result, this is hard to get right, and many among us consider the development of production machine learning systems to be more complex than software development is. And the work of creating and managing training data does not stop after the initial model is trained and deployed. That's just the beginning, as we all know, having worked and built these systems. But getting your training data right is essential. In fact, Tesla has been very public about the idea that correct data labeling has been their biggest issue tied to artificial intelligence. And we have heard the same from our customers. So here we are. We've arrived at the heart of this problem. Teams are setting out to build compelling machine learning systems that drive value for new products and services, but quickly finding themselves spending 80% or more of their time getting the training data right, building tools, and managing large-scale infrastructure. All of this leads to delays in building what our customers want, or worse, failing in the projects that we endeavor to build and deliver. So how do we actually solve this problem? Well, we do know our two success criteria. We just outlined those previously. But to recap, here they are. One, we have to get the training data right. And two, we have to move faster so that machine learning teams spend more time building exactly what their customers want and driving value, and less time on training data development, building tooling, and maintaining large-scale infrastructure. At Labelbox, we've studied this problem now for many years. And along the way, we've had the privilege of working with hundreds of different companies across every industry, as well as dozens of leading academic institutions. It turns out everybody around us is grappling with these same challenges that we're talking about. But the good news is that as an industry and as a community here today, we generally align on what the solution path is going forward. And that path boils down to three things. The first is more accurate labeling. The second is moving faster with faster iterations. And the third is a fully organized workflow that ties more accurate labeling and faster iterations together. Many teams start by believing they need to make a trade-off between higher accuracy and the speed of iteration. But they're also grappling with the fact that getting the training data right is clearly the final goal of the work. But accuracy comes through iteration, and you can't get there without seeing and correcting what's wrong with the model or aspects of the bias. So it's absolutely crucial that we speed up this process of iteration as much as possible in service of our clear ultimate goal, accurate training data that drives model performance. And what often gets undervalued is the need for a fully organized workflow that ensures that these iterations happen quickly while maximizing the impact of each of these iterations. So we want to annotate more accurately with every iteration we do. We want to iterate more quickly. And to do both of these things, we need to manage this process in an optimally organized workflow, essentially. This is where the training data platform comes into the picture. A training data platform is software. It enables organizations to collaboratively and scalably manage, annotate, and iterate on data in order to improve the machine learning models as quickly as possible. So at Labelbox, we've purpose-built the world's first training data platform. And another way to think about a training data platform is as a system of record for creating and managing your team and company's training data. Every organizational function has a system of record and a collaboration platform that they use to make decisions about their business, to govern their work, and to manage the functional area that they're performing within. Let's think of some examples. So let's start with finance. They have a finance and accounting system of record, right? Sales has a CRM or customer relationship management system. Engineering has a software development lifecycle system or an SDLC. We're very familiar with all of those. Now moving back to machine learning teams and the training data platform. There are three key components here. The first is manage. This is about that workflow management we were talking about before, right? We're enabling collaboration, we're reviewing, we're warehousing data, we're curating, sorting, filtering, sharing, and moving through that data effectively. Together, these elements assure we're best organized as a team to iterate and annotate. Now let's talk about annotate. This is what most people associate with labeling. We're super familiar with this. The ability to annotate across all of our images, our video, language, tiled imagery, a composite of this data. Really, a training data platform has best-in-class tooling here, and this is so that you don't need to build this tooling yourself. Moving to iterate. As we mentioned earlier, the key to a performant machine learning model is many iterations, but it's also crucial that those iterations happen fast. And that's the third element around which a training data platform functions. The ability to access powerful analytics, reviewing outputs against benchmarks, and to actively learn. This is very similar to what we can do in software development. We've seen this before. We're very comfortable moving quickly through iteration cycles. And here is what a training data platform essentially looks like when we bring it all together. It's enabling those three key elements to all work together seamlessly. You'll see that annotation here is at the heart of the training data platform, with manage and iterate as important parts of a whole system that enables teams to work faster. Okay, on the left, you can see that we're supporting external labeling services, as well as the work from internal teams and machine-generated labels. More on that in a second. So we use the training data platform to bring the many methodologies for developing training data into one unified system, and that's key. In working with hundreds of leading AI teams across every major industry, we've found that there's really no silver bullet here in terms of a way to create the best training data. We often need a combination of outsourced labeling services, in-house data review, and machine-generated labels via model predictions, weak supervision, and many other techniques, some still emerging today. So we need a combination of these things. Okay, now let's dive into the training data platform deeper, starting with the manage layer. So using the manage layer, all of our labeled data sits in a single central place for us to explore and reuse and as often as we need. We're curating, we're sharing, and so on. We're also able to collaborate across all of our internal teams, as well as with multiple labeling teams and outsourced labeling services. That's key. In a nutshell, the manage layer of the training data platform prevents us from flying blind by giving us a centralized management of our data, of our collaborators, and of our workflows that are driving our rapid iteration towards better accuracy. Now let's move to the annotation layer of the training data platform. A training data platform provides powerful annotation tools to generate labels on images, video, and text, and so on. At Labelbox, we also employ some generalized labeling automation techniques like model-based pre-labeling and weak supervision, among others. And through this, we make the process faster and more accurate for labeling. In fact, it's common for a Labelbox customer to reduce their labeling spend by 50% using these techniques and combining them together. And furthermore, a training data platform gets its platform designation for a reason here, right? So a platform allows you to build and customize bespoke tools on top that you can extend to support your specific labeling needs and the automation opportunities you have through your iteration cycles. Okay, let's move to the Iterate layer of the training data platform. The Iterate layer of the training data platform shortens iteration cycles and increases the model performance gains of each of these iterations. Well, that sounds great actually, but how does it actually work? So an iteration typically starts with performing differential diagnosis on our modeling performance. But if we're just getting started and this is our first iteration, then instead we only have our insights and our intuitions to go off. So we start there. But either way, our goal from here is to prescribe actions that have the highest modeling performance return on our iteration and each iteration. So to do that, we use analytics about our training data in conjunction with analysis of the model performance that we're seeing to prescribe exactly the right actions. For example, we may need to improve the quality of our labels. We may need to source and label new data or something else. At any rate, once we've done so, we will train a new model and validate the performance of that model. And if we're operating in production and we're satisfied with these validation results, then we can develop a canary version of the model. And if that goes well, we can then release to production. And from here, the iteration cycle repeats itself. Now, this iteration process is fairly simple. It is admittedly a simplified version of the process. However, the average time that it takes a leading AI team to complete this iteration cycle is 2 to 4 weeks. Compare that to software, where iteration cycles are measured in hours, as we know. 2 to 4 weeks versus hours. As another example of iteration, a training data platform should be built to save time by utilizing automation features such as model-based pre-labeling we talked about before. In Labelbox, we allow you to import computer-generated predictions and then upload them as editable features on an image or an asset generally. What this does is it speeds up the labeling process as well as enhancing the manual labeling efforts towards the accuracy. For example, we have seen users who are saving 2 times as much on labeling costs when tapping into model-based pre-labeling features and functionality. All right, let's bring everything back together. The manage, the annotate, and the iterate layers work in unison as the key elements of our training data platform. When we're developing training data in this way, our collaboration is amplified, it's more fun, we perform more iterations in the same amount of time, and we maximize these model performance gains with each iteration. Now, let's see how all of that comes together in practice with one of our customers. In the United States, there are about 140 million homes, and every year, about 30% of these homes, or roughly 40 million, are quoted for home insurance. People are buying and selling houses or maybe shopping for better rates, and they just need a revised quote. The result is that the home industry provides 40 million home insurance quotes per year, which is equivalent to more than 100,000 home insurance quotes per day. And there is a lot of data that goes into providing an insurance quote: the age of the home's roof, the presence of a pool or a trampoline, even the distance of a tree to the home itself, lest we forget trees fall over. There is a long list of factors that can affect the risk profile of a house when an insurance company is assessing it and providing a quote. A service that is helping insurance company make highly informed decisions on these factors is our customer Arturo. Using machine learning powered computer vision techniques, they do continual analysis of satellite imagery. And Arturo has developed a breakthrough product that now powers much of today's home insurance quoting. With a single API call to Arturo servers, you can get the details of any address in the United States. And those details are always up to date. Remember, they're doing continual analysis of satellite imagery. Arturo uses the Labelbox training data platform as the central part of their production machine learning pipeline. The management features on the Labelbox platform allow Arturo to ensure consistent quality across their many millions of images. Labelbox allows also for detailed annotation instructions to be included across a range of different use cases. So you're tailoring those instructions to the labeling to drive accuracy. It's also used for labeling managers and for machine learning engineers to work collaboratively, back and forth in that iteration loop. It also corrects for labels cultural differences when labeling data from images in different countries and regulatory structures and the way people build homes. It enables supervisors to establish benchmarks and oversee quality in a systematic way. For annotation, Arturo utilizes our suite of tools to define all sorts of homes, trees, gutters, and trampolines, so their model can better identify future instances of these properties. In each case, annotated images are then classified across a range of different categories. For example, the annotation of a roof may also include information on the number of panels, as well as their shape, their slope, the surface area, and even the material that's used to construct each of those panels. It's incredible what you can see. The company at this point has annotated more than 5 million polygons across more than 60 different instance classes. With this much complexity, improving the model via iteration is at the heart of how Arturo has been improving their machine learning models consistently to drive a competitive advantage in the market. Some of those classifications I just mentioned end up being reclassified, and sometimes more than once, with more and more granularity as the model gets more sophisticated. For example, classifying a vehicle in an early round of annotation eventually becomes either a car, truck, boat, or RV in future iterations as we gain complexity. As the company moved from classifying American homes to those in Australia, they used Labelbox and its pre-labeling functionality. Arturo, through this method, was able to cut down the time involved in this annotation process to be less than 50% of what it took US annotations by utilizing the American data set and adjusting for the differences such as materials in the roof and so forth. These iteration cycles allow Arturo to provide highly accurate data while adapting quickly, right, to keep up with the continuous changes being made to homes across the US, Australia, and now beyond. We are incredibly excited to be working with a group that is completely innovating in the insurance space. We see similar breakthrough approaches and results being adopted and realized across our customers in industries including agriculture, medicine and healthcare, manufacturing, and many, many others. It's hard not to be inspired. We would love to speak with you to understand how we can help you build the next generation of products and services that you are working on. Now let's jump into the questions.